Hey there, I'm Kathy with the Traveling Homesteader and Gyroscope Farm, and today is Sunday, and it's a little bit chill, you might say, here in Oregon. And where I am in the Willamette Valley, it is officially cold and icy, and this is kind of what it looks like today. And after we've gotten down to 19 degrees and had a bit of snow and ice combined and freezing rain and all that good stuff. So just thought I'd do a little kind of chat on a Sunday to see what you guys are up to. So it's out and about, and the dogs needed to get out, and they've been barking at the cat, the spare cat that we have that kind of found our space. And you can see that it is a touch bit chill, a little bit different than our norm this time of year, but it's kind of fun. So this is very much sort of weather, you might say, weathering that we have that we get to prepare for. And so like with this weather, we kind of knew that something was coming along down the pike. So I knew what I had in my food stores and my water and all that storage stuff that I have to know what I needed to do extra. And since we knew about this weather coming mid to late last week, it was one of those things that I said, okay, what do I need that I immediately need to go get? And so on Friday, I made my list, and I needed dog food and some hay and grain for my sheep. And I needed some other things for myself for extra food, like just fresh produce and that sort of thing that I could use as I'm preparing for this weather. And there are some other things that I thought, in case the water freezes or in case I'm without electricity, there are some things that I need to do for my space to kind of insulate it and to make sure that I can do okay with low temperatures. And like last night here, it got down to 19 degrees Fahrenheit. And so that's a little bit chill. And so I just thought I'd share with you some of the things I did to help prepare for this weather that I've had. And maybe that's something that you could think of as well. And how I've heard of some other people kind of needing to prepare for similar weather in their areas. So one of the things I had to consider is my cat, Rye. And now Rye here is a cat that I had gotten, about 8-9 years ago when I lived in Burns, Oregon. And she had been mainly an outdoor cat, but she was able to come inside and outside. And now she's mainly an indoor cat just as of the last couple of months, because she's, I think, gotten kind of ill. And so she's not quite her normal self, but she's still quite loving. And so one of the things I had to consider was that if she wasn't going to go outside to go do things, then I had to kind of stock up on cat litter and make sure that her area was kind of clean and neat. And so she had kind of gotten into the habit, because of her kitty litter box, that she'd only go so many times, and then she'd start peeing on and pooping on my floor. And I was like, so I was cleaning it regularly, and it was obscene. So she ended up, with what she has being sick, she just goes to the bathroom a lot more. So I had to make sure that I had gotten stocked up on kitty litter so that she could have her space nice and clean all the time and not have it kind of come out of the box. And so that's one thing that I did. But I also made sure that this area was open to her to go into my main space. Now this is like my kind of work area, storage area. And so she has the ability to come and go. And she has her bed here. Nothing fancy, but she has her food. And so she's actually gotten to the point where she'll come in and sleep with me at night in bed, which she really enjoys snuggling. So she has the ability to come and go in the house as she pleases. But that's one thing that I needed to take care of, was the cat. So this is an area where I showed you before where Rye lives. It's kind of Rye space. But it's also a space where I kind of use it as a work area for when I do food preps or some crafting things. And so I have, like right here, 2 freezers. Like one right here and one right here beneath, and a nice table area. So this is kind of my prep area where you may have seen me kind of prepare some things before. But as far as this storm goes, it's also an area where I kind of store some of my food and non-food items for situations like this. So as I've been going through this process of an emergency, this weather emergency, I ended up pulling things out like flashlights and some other lights that I have so that I knew that if the power went out, I'd have some lights. Now this is a flashlight that I've had for years, and it is battery operated, but it is also solar operated. And so this was one that this was my first experience with solar, but it does have these flat batteries. And at the moment, the batteries are dead. The batteries have been long dead. But the one thing that keeps this going is this nice little solar panel that you can see here. And so that's like, almost thank goodness that I got this. And it was a set of like 2 or 3 that I got, I think, at Costco. And unfortunately, I've managed to lose all the others, but I have this one still, thankfully. And this is one of my little safety items that in case I need light, it works. But I also found myself, when I was going shopping, saying to myself, okay, if this year is going to be my year of using what I have and not splurging on everything because I need it, what do I have? And so I realized that I'm a fan of graham crackers. So I got some graham crackers, and it's the little kid in me why I like these. When I was a kid, I used to like dunking them in milk and just eating them with milk. But I also like them with cream cheese. So if I wanted to have a snack of some sort, I was like, do I have the means of doing my graham cracker snacks? And in fact, I do, because I was able to have my cream cheese in my freezer, because you can freeze cream cheese. So I prepped up on that and stocked up on that for this sort of thing and other things. But then I realized after I'd gone shopping that I'd forgotten milk. I said, okay, well, I'm not going to go back out and just get milk. But thankfully, I had gotten some instant dry milk. So I can make myself some milk with some water that I have, and an amount that I'll use either per serving or just a little bit more of a bulk, like a gallon size. So that's something to think on too, is maybe you're going to have some snacks that you want, and how can you have your snacks in an emergency if you need to? So that's why I'm literally grabbing on just these things right from my pantry. And so that's kind of the nice thing. The other thing that I thought of was, okay, what are some other things that I should have that will help me get through, that I should cook or buy now? And like I mentioned before, I got animal food for the animals. I got some dog food, some cat food, some hay. Those were things that I couldn't put off, and I didn't have extra in storage necessarily. So those were some things I needed. But some things that I had here, but I didn't know if I could make without electricity, if electricity went out, was I actually got some of these pans and decided to make some, basically what I call 7-layer dip. No matter the layers, I call it 7-layer dip. And basically this has refried beans, rice, salsa, cheese, olives, that sort of thing. And I just put it in layers, and I got some chips. And I actually had some chips that I bought last week. So I can now have this as well. And it doesn't need to be reheated. It can be a cold item. But I'd also, with some of my produce I got, some of the lettuce I got, I could actually use that as part of a Mexican salad. Or I also have some tortillas that if I do continue to have electricity, I could heat it in my little oven that I have here. So that's something simple too that you can make. But then I say, okay, what if I run out of fresh produce? Luckily, I have some canned items. Like I have some canned pears. And then I had, with a friend, as you may have seen in another video I made, I did some freeze-dried things. So I have some freeze-dried fruits and vegetables as well. And the people that I worked with on that, they gifted me some more at Christmas. So I have things like yogurt and mushrooms that I hadn't had before. So like if I need them or want them, I can have them, which is an awesome thing. And one last thing that I did before kind of everything went south, you might say, was I had cooked up some rice. And I cooked up some rice for the 7-layer dip. But I thought, just in case, Rice is another one of those things that when I was a kid, it was a good thing to have. I would have it just with butter and rice, or butter and salt. So I had white rice, cooked white rice with some butter and salt, and it was like comfort food. It was good. So I cooked some extra of that, but I thought, what could I do extra? So I have the rice, but I also have some curry that I'd made. So I can, if I need to, I can just heat this up in the microwave and put it over the rice as extra protein. So that's something else too. So these are all things from my food storage and pantry for the most part, with very little of going out to the store to get things. So this is the exact thing that I'd like to help you understand is that, or help you try to work towards, is getting little bit by little bit things that you may use during a weather storm. Or if you need to leave your house, things that you can bring with you if you need to. And so with that in mind, what's the weather like where you are right now? What have you been up to? What did you do to help yourself, but maybe also to help somebody else if need be? So I'm interested to hear what you have to say about what you've been doing and how your food storage or emergency preparedness has helped you with this winter weather. Because it sounds like we are having winter weather all around. As you can see, I have something of a window behind me. So something else I did in preparation for this storm was I had actually bought this material at Joann's. It has several layers to it. It's quilted outside and then a somewhat quilted other side. But in the middle, it has something of an insulating metal to it, like some of those insulating blankets that are just, that you can fold up into tiny squares. That's what this has in it. And basically, it's insulating material to help you have your windows block out the cold or the heat, depending on the time of year. And I simply put this up over my window. And literally, because I didn't have time to do something more, I simply took a staple gun and stapled it across the top of the window. And believe it or not, it's actually kept my area a lot warmer. I noticed a difference almost right away. I have one heater in my space, so that one heater has to heat up a fair amount of space, and having this big window with cold air coming through was a bit of a challenge. And so having this up, it was something simple. Yes, the material was a little bit more on the expensive side. I want to say even on sale, it was about $20, $25 a yard. And I believe this was 2 yards. I think not on sale around me, it was up to closer to like $50 a yard. But at least with me at Joann's, if you have a Joann's or something like that near you, they run sales all the time and you can get this at a reasonable price. And for me, to spend about $50, $60 total on this piece of material to help keep me warm in a situation like this, that's a bonus. So if you have something like this where you need to keep in some warmth, then this might be a good idea. I'm part of a group on Facebook that someone mentioned that their daughter and their roommate live in Utah and they live in a basement and they're having a big old storm coming along. And they're wondering what they could pass on to their daughter and her roommate to help stock up for a winter storm. And this was one thing that I suggested because it's just simple, and you can literally take a stapler to it or put it in something to line like with a blanket even. But I'd also pointed out the things that I was doing, that while there was electricity, maybe do some cooking. Like I had made some muffins and I had cooked myself some dinner a little bit early. I'd made some rice. But the other thing I did was, in case the pipes froze or something happened where I couldn't get water, I just filled up my thermos containers with extra water. And not only did I do that, I saw my crock pot and I said, ooh, I'm not going to use that right now, so I'm going to fill that with water. So that way I had some extra water around with the utensils that I had. I don't necessarily have a bathtub here in my little space here, so I wasn't going to fill up a bathtub, but that's something you could do too. If you had a bathtub, you could fill with water if need be. So these are some different things that you might be able to do. And again, what have you done to help prepare yourself for a winter weather storm or hurricane or some other weather that's to you normal, almost normal. So with that in mind, keep thinking down below and adding what you've done. So just as some other things that I did that maybe you wouldn't have thought of, I decided that I was going to do 2 other things for this weather. One, I was going to clean. My space is not that big, but because I have dogs and cats that are inside, it gets a little dirtier. So I decided to make sure that my space was clean. So I washed the floors, I vacuumed, I kind of washed down some countertops, and I made sure that things were reasonably clean for an extended period of time, because in case I didn't have water or electricity, something like vacuuming wasn't going to happen too well, or something like washing my floor wasn't going to be too helpful if I didn't have access to water. Now, there are other ways around those things, like you could wipe down your counters like with Clorox wipes or something like that, but again, it's easier to have it done and while everything's working, so you don't have to worry about that. But the other thing I ended up doing was finding some things to finish off some projects. So like, for example, I'd made some tinctures that I needed to bottle. And I found that I had thought I had enough bottles, but I didn't. And so I went out and made sure that was part of my job on Friday, was to go get more bottles so I could finish off my tincture bottling setup. And so that was one thing. So then I can, while this is all going on, I can just sit down and get some projects done that I wasn't able to get done before. And in this case, with having the bottles, I had to go to the store and get them. I guess I could have them delivered, but again, the mail wasn't delivered yesterday to our house because of the icy roads. So it's that sort of thing too, that if you know that you need to have something and there's potential that deliveries won't be made, Amazon's great, but if the product can't get to you because of the roads, you're kind of out of luck. And we even had DoorDash cancel in our town last night at a certain hour because they're like, we're done. We're not going to bring you food so we could get in a ditch. So it's that sort of thing too, that DoorDash, Amazon, all these things are great items to have and great to be able to use, but at some point they're not going to be around. So what do you have that you are able to do in case something like DoorDash isn't going to happen or Amazon can't deliver? So with that in mind, I'm going to wrap things up with asking you again, what are some things that you've stored? What are some things that you'd like to get going? Is there something that you might have forgotten that you're like, I'll have to do that for next time? But crossing fingers, everybody's safe and are able to kind of get through this winter weather spat that's going on, whether it's continued on or if it's just come and will go even shorter. So hopefully today's showed you some different things that you may be able to do as preparations, short and long-term preparations for an emergency situation. And if you would like to add any other comments down below, please do, because it's always interesting to know what other people are doing and what they're not doing. So thanks again for stopping by, and I hope you have a good day. And thanks for visiting Gyroscope Farm and the Traveling Homesteader.